Friends, if you want to watch super hit movie Apartment 7 in English, then you must like this video if you're visiting our channel for the first time. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, friends. In today's video, the movie we're going to talk about is called Apartment 7A. We will talk about what this movie is and where you can watch it. All the interesting about this movie in today's video I'm going to tell you. I also going to give you all the information on which platform or on which request you friends to watch this video till the end. So let's start the video. Apartment 7 is a 2024 American psychological thriller film directed by Natalie Erica James from a screenplay she co-wrote with Christian White and Skylar James. It serves as a prequel to Rosemary's Baby, 1968. Julia Garner, Garne Wiest, Jim Sturgess, and Kevin McNally star. Apartment 7A had its premiere at Fantastic Fest on September 20, 2024, before being released simultaneously on Paramount Plus and on digital video on demand on September 27. Plot: Terry Giannoffrio, a young dancer from Nebraska, now working in New York City, sustains a serious ankle injury mid-performance in a Broadway production of Kiss Me Kate, causing the show to be stopped. She becomes known as the girl who fell, and although unable to perform as she previously did, continues to unsuccessfully audition for dancing parts. After auditioning for Broadway producer Alan Marchand, she follows him home to the Bramford apartment building and becomes sick. She is befriended by Minnie and Roman Castevet, an elderly couple who live in the Bramford's apartments and who offer her an apartment down the hall rent-free, which they explain as something they have done before to help someone who needs it. Unpacking, she comes across a ballet slipper labeled Joan Cebulski. The Castevets invite her for cocktails at Alan's apartment, but when she shows up, she discovers the Castevets have cried off and she is the only guest. After a drink, she becomes disoriented. After a frightening dream, she wakes in bed in Marchand's apartment. He implies they had sex and tells her she made the chorus for his show. Terry meets more of the neighbors, who take an interest. One woman, Lily Gardenia, gives her a salve for her ankle, and she has another frightening dream, but in the morning her ankle is markedly better. Another, Dr. Sapirstein, an obstetrician, gives her his card. The Castevets give her a talisman necklace for Christmas. After experiencing morning sickness, she visits Dr. Sapirstein and discovers she is pregnant, and the news is soon known to Alan and the Castevets. Terry discovers a secret passageway into Lily's apartment and finds a note and a grimoire. She steals the grimoire and finds a drawing of her talisman in it, along with a photo of a chained woman giving birth to a demon. Terry experiences pain and calls Dr. Sapirstein, telling him she thinks there's something wrong with her or the baby. He tells her to pack a bag and come in, and when she asks why she would need a bag, he tells her she may be experiencing perinatal hysteria and need to be admitted for her own protection and that of the baby. Terry flees, leaving the talisman behind. She finds Joan Cebulski's name in an old playbill and visits the theater. The manager tells her Joan left 6 months earlier, promising to be back for her belongings the next day. In Joan's suitcase, Terry finds a rosary and a Bible with Revelation 12 verse 9 underlined. Terry goes to a back alley abortionist accompanied by Annie. Terry involuntarily kicks the abortionist as she starts the process, and the woman has a seizure. Terry tells Annie she has to deal with the pregnancy on her own. Back at the Bramford, she finds a temple with murals and tools of religious ritual in a sub-basement. Alan appears and tells her this is where she was impregnated. Alan taunts her, and she stabs him with an engraved athame. A horned figure appears, and she flees. Finding Minnie and Roman in her apartment, she tries to stab herself in the stomach but falls to the floor, writhing in pain. Roman tells Terry her son will be Satan's heir and change the world. He and Minnie take her to the rest of the group, who welcome her. Minnie replaces the talisman around Terry's neck, and Roman declares God dead in 1965, the year 1. He raises a toast, Hail Satan, which Terry joins in on. She begins to dance artistically to Be My Baby, and reaching the window, throws herself out to her death. As Minnie and Roman approach the scene, they see Rosemary and Guy Woodhouse being interviewed by police. Cast: Julia Garner as Terry Giannoffrio, Garne Wiest as Minnie Castevet, Jim Sturgess as Alan Marchand, Kevin McNally as Roman Castevet, Marley Sue as Annie Lung, Andrew Buchan as Leo Watts, Rosie McEwen as Vera Clark, Cobna Holdbrook Smith as BJ. In addition, Amy Leeson and Scott Hume appear as Rosemary and Guy Woodhouse, respectively. Production development. In 2008, a remake of Rosemary's Baby, 1968, was in development from producers Michael Bay, Andrew Form, and Brad Fuller. The remake fell through later that same year. In March 2021, it was reported Natalie Erica James would direct the psychological thriller film Apartment 7A. James co-wrote the screenplay with Christian White, based on a previous draft of the script written by Skylar James. John Krasinski, Allison Seeger, Bay, Form, and Fuller produced the film, which was a joint venture production between Paramount Players, Sunday Night Productions, and Platinum Dunes. Following the success of the A Quiet Place franchise, the project was among several scripts that the studio was developing with a similar tone. Apartment 7A was chosen from those projects to quickly enter pre-production casting. In January 2022, Julia Garner was revealed to be starring in the leading role. In March, Garne Wiest joined the cast. By the time filming had ended, additional casting announcements included Marley C. Rosie McEwen, Jim Sturgess, Kevin McNally, Andrew Buchan, and Kobna Holdbrook-Smith. Filming. Principal photography began in London on March 15, 2022. On June 4th, it was announced that filming had wrapped. Later that month, Bloody Disgusting reported that the film was secretly a prequel to Rosemary's Baby, the film adaptation of Ira Levin's eponymous 1967 novel. In August, the Writers Guild of America determined the film's final writing credits and confirmed it to be based on Levin's novel. Reshoots took place in April and May 2023. Release Apartment 7A premiered at Fantastic Fest on September 20, 2024, before being simultaneously released in the United States via video on demand and on Paramount Plus on September 27. Reception. Critical response. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 40% of 70 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 5.5/10. The website's consensus reads, Apartment 7A is slickly assembled and solidly acted, but the lingering memory of Rosemary's Baby and a predictable prequel template make for a subpar lease. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 48 out of 100, based on 18 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. John Anderson of The Wall Street Journal called it a highly stylish effort at recycling. Writing for IGN Movies, Katie Reif noted that, although the film's themes and horror are rote, creative choreography and strong performances from the core cast make it an entertaining watch. The film was also praised by Robert Englund. Many have tried and failed to replicate the genre-shifting success of Roman Polanski's Rosemary's Baby, undeniably one of the most important horror films of all time. Not only was there a TV sequel and TV remake with Zoe Saldana, but the DNA of that film is embedded through ones that play every year down here at Fantastic Fest, the country's most elite horror festival. And so, Natalie Erica James's Apartment 7A enters into a massive shadow, one notably bigger than the excellent The First Omen from earlier this year. Another film that ends where a horror hit begins. However, where that film broke away from The Omen to find its own fearless identity, Apartment 7A seems afraid to stray too far from Mommy, justifying its existence through the sheer power of the great Julia Garner's skill level, but leaving little else to recommend it. The Emmy winner for Ozark stars as Terry Giannoffrio, who fans of Polanski's film will remember from early in the saga of poor Rosemary Woodhouse, who meets Terry in the creepy basement of the Bramford, only to see her bloodied body on the sidewalk shortly thereafter. James takes this minor character from Rosemary's Baby and imagines her final weeks, charting the arc of the woman that the evil powers that be of New York City tried to turn into the mother of the Antichrist before Rosemary. Terry is a dancer in 1965 who suffers a horrible on-stage accident, leaving her cautious and uncertain about her future. An early scene in which she auditions for a show is one of the film's best, as the play's director forces her over and over again to repeat the move that injured her, even as it induces more and more obvious pain. The show's producer, Jim Sturgess, is intrigued by this fearless young woman, likely because he can quite literally see her tolerance for the physically brutal. She's really auditioning for a very different job. Because, of course, he's the mastermind behind the infamous scheme from the IR 11 book and Polanski film to impregnate a woman to bring forth the end of the world. After going to his apartment building, Terry collapses, taken in by the Castavets, played here by Garne Wiest and Kevin McNally. The latter does a relatively subdued take on Roman, but the Oscar-winning Wiest goes all in on Minnie, clearly attempting something of a Ruth Gordon impression, but missing the mark. It makes sense to pay homage to an Oscar-winning performance, but Gordon's tone felt natural, whereas Wiest comes off like a parody of an exaggerated New Yorker. I was reminded of George Costanza's mom more than once. Of course, everyone knows that the kindly Castavets are secretly part of a cult in the Bramford, and that poor Terry is their latest target. While Apartment 7A plays a bit with the canon of its source, the truth is that we know Terry's fate, which casts a cloud of doom over the entire proceeding. Garner does her best to break out of this fog, but she's not helped by a production that forgets key elements of what worked about the original, including, most of all, setting. Watch just the opening scene of Rosemary's Baby and witness the way Polanski used this well-known space in a manner that was foreboding and familiar at the same time. There's no personality to the production design here, it's just a set. And Apartment 7A is nowhere near thematically rich enough either, losing the gaslighting element of Rosemary's Marriage in the source and not replacing it with really anything at all. Is this a tale of a performer who goes too far? It could easily have been a study in obsession. Rosemary's Baby meets Black Swan. I'd watch that movie, but Terry's identity as a dancer feels like it exists just to give Apartment 7A a narrative skeleton, not for any interesting thematic digging. And yet in all of this forgettable filmmaking, there's Julia Garner, doing so much with so little. She's constantly making smart choices with body language and dialogue, staying riveting through the entire film, all the way up to her wonderful final beat. There's a certain irony that a film about an artist who is pushed to her breaking point and used for little more than her body would ultimately be solely a showcase for a performer itself. Natalie Erica James' Apartment 7A is at once a prequel to Rosemary's Baby, the book by IR 11 and the film by Roman Polanski, and the latest entry in Hollywood's new wave of pregnancy horror, born in the wake of Roe v. Wade's 2022 repealing. Other examples from this year include Immaculate and The First Omen, the latter also being a prequel, but James's mostly solid film more succinctly captures the anxieties of the current moment. The movie is largely entertaining, despite being pulled constantly in two directions, as a predecessor to an iconic work and as a distinct beast, with its own gripes against patriarchal norms. Set in the mid-1960s, it follows struggling stage actor Terry Giannoffrio, Julia Garner, a minor role previously played by Angela Dorian in Polanski's film, and it details how she came to live in Bramford, the wealthy New York apartment building where Rosemary's Baby is set. It also functions as something of a remake, following many of the same beats as the original, albeit with one major difference. The 1968 movie saw Rosemary Woodhouse, Mia Farrow, who was already trying to conceive, become pregnant with Satan's spawn, while her actor husband Guy, John Cassavetes, received professional success in return. However, this new, fleshed-out version of Terry combines their stories, framing her as an up-and-comer whose pregnancy puts her Broadway spotlight at risk, but someone tempted with the promises of fame and fortune. A literal deal with the devil. Should she carry her child to term? It's a lucid tale of a woman forced into motherhood at the expense of her profession. Though before it unfurls, the movie traces her story through a debilitating injury that derails her career, which leads her to take pills to numb the pain. This addiction subplot doesn't last, but only because she's soon taken in, as she was in the original, by the seemingly kindly Bramford residents, Roman and Minnie Castavet, played here by Kevin McNally and Garne Wiest. Other characters seen and referenced in Rosemary's Baby show up too, but Apartment 7A isn't concerned with setting up a future tale so much as it is with telling its own about overbearing parent figures trying to determine Terry's future without giving her a say. That said, the film, like Terry, is also destined for preordained tragedy, given the movie's prequel status. This leaves it occasionally trapped between highly original flourishes, like visions of a bedazzled Satan representing the allure of stardom, and retreads of existing imagery, like blurry nightmares, and visions that combine the real and the imagined. James, however, works quite well within these confines. Apartment 7A never induces the kind of paranoia that Polanski did about what's truly going on, but the audience this time around enters with a set of expectations that would render such questions moot. Instead, the fears that grip Terry are far more overt, and they offer Garner the chance to playfully expand on a bit part in intriguing ways as a woman beaten down by forces beyond her control. However, the movie's secret weapon is Wiest, whose approach to Minnie involves a major departure from actor Ruth Gordon. While McNally plays Roman with the same straightforward, personable demeanor as the original Sidney Blackmer, Wiest swings for the fences with a cartoonish shrillness that's initially grating but is also befitting of a nosy neighbor. However, when she reveals more sinister layers to Minnie, her decisions yield a wonderfully loopy tonal disconnect that's simultaneously at odds with the other actors and the film at large, as well as deeply unsettling. Sadly, little else in Apartment 7A matches the visceral impact Wiest provides. Terry's injuries seem, at first, like they might set up exactly such a through line, thanks to James's unsettling close-ups of blisters and scars. But this effect is soon discarded and doesn't even return when the movie centers Terry's pregnancy. That she's usually in physical anguish is something Garner plays well, but it's also something the camera captures from afar. The film breaks into formal subjectivity during dreams and visions, but seldom does this during Terry's waking moments. The aesthetic approach to the Bramford is also self-defeating. Along with the film's very title, Apartment 7A, the Castevet's address, the gaslight wash applied to the building's hallways seems to color it as some inherently evil space, like the hotel from The Shining, even though little in the actual film supports this, including its performances. It's all but a filter haphazardly applied, working counter to the supposedly welcoming environment the Castevets try to create for Terry before subverting it. This leaves no potential for stylistic metamorphosis as the movie progresses, and thus little room for visual surprise. Still, as a modern take on a nearly 60-year-old story, Apartment 7A is not altogether unnecessary and makes for a decently engaging time. Directed by Natalie Erica James, this is not a dream, this is really happening. Apartment 7A, a prequel to the 1968 horror masterpiece Rosemary's Baby, is good. Prequels, sequels, and remakes of legacy properties will always be walking a tightrope, and the producers need a thick skin to handle the criticism from fans before they even make it to the screen. While I am absolutely a fan of Rosemary's Baby, I don't put it on so high a pedestal that I wasn't willing to give this a chance. I'm glad I did because I truly enjoyed Apartment 7A. Here is the film's official synopsis. An ambitious young dancer, Terry Giannoffrio, Julia Garner, dreams of fame and fortune in New York City. But after suffering a devastating injury, an older, wealthy couple, Diane Wiest and Kevin McNally, welcomes her into their home in the luxury apartment building, the Bramford. When fellow resident and influential Broadway producer Jim Sturgess offers her another chance at fame, it seems that all her dreams are finally coming true. However, after an evening she can't fully remember, disturbing circumstances soon have her second-guessing the sacrifices she's willing to make for her career. She soon realizes that something evil is living not only in Apartment 7A, but in the Bramford itself. The film is a feast for the eyes. I loved the color palette, the costumes, and adored the over-the-top dream sequence complete with a bedazzled devil. Natalie Erica James honors the original film while still managing to make something that stands on its own. However, it may not have been as successful without its two leads. New perspectives are actually worth exploring in a year of dismally derivative horror films. I still had hoped that Apartment 7A would have a new bag of tricks to showcase rather than just numbing us with nostalgia on the plus side. Apartment 7A had some decently jumpy moments, and Julia Garner proves her proficiency in screen queening, but I tier of this array of secondhand scares its max in a running for her life at the East of the Bates Motel. Its long legs borrowing makeup and music from Buffalo Bill, its Terry Giopo being given the same pixie cut and Tanis root necklace and hoping it's just as pungent, Just because lightning can strike in the same place twice doesn't mean it'll be effective. This time this film isn't bold or brand new, but is it still worthy of watching? Rosemary's Maybe. This film, directed by Natalie Erica James, screenplay by Natalie Erica James, Christian White, Skylar James, story by Skylar James, produced by John Krinsky, Allison Seeger, Michael Bay, Andrew Form, Brad Fuller, starring Julia Garner, D. Jim Sturgess, Kevin MCN. Cinematography, Arnav's column, edited by Andy Kenny, music by Adam Purr. Ice Peter Gregson, production company Annis, Paramount Players, Platinum Dunes, Sunday Night Productions, distributed by Paramount Pictures. Release date September 20th, 2024, in Fantastic Fest, September 27th, 2024 in United States. Running time 104 minutes. Country United States. Language English. So guys, this is their view of Apartment 7, a movie, and some information about it. How do you like our today's video? Please let us know by commenting, and if you like this video, please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.